Welcome to the Right Now Show. This show is all about inspiring our generation, people in their 20s, to go out and actually go for your dream, to find out what your purpose and your mission in life is. And I know that you listening, you are capable of so much more than you can possibly imagine. And I want you to go out and I want you to make that happen. And on this show, we're going to bring on people that have inspired us, that are absolutely just crushing it in life and have overcome insane odds. And this show is called The Right Now Show because the only thing that is truly real is this moment. Let's get into the show. We got Gabe Gennace on the show. We all went to Bangor, fun fact.
Oh,
And,
did you go to Bangor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight out of Bangor.
Were you like new?
No, I was way before. Like I graduated in 2018. I don't know when you graduated.
He just has one of those faces.
He was a year
hard
behind
to
us.
recognize. He just blends in.
Maybe you just look different because I feel like I would have remembered.
He does. He used to be
Football
pretty
player.
thick, man. He used to
Okay,
be pretty.
yeah.
His face was a little
Dude,
bigger.
just call me fat. Just call me
Okay, so
fucking fat.
that's
No, you weren't
that's
fat,
probably what it was,
yeah.
which is good.
Yeah.
Maybe it's good.
I was
I
just
don't
telling him. I looked at a video of him the other day from like 2 years ago, and he had like his head shaved and his face was all blown up. I was like, bro, I didn't even recognize you.
Dude, pictures they come in handy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta get that
So, like,
diet in check.
So, you're a fitness and mindset coach, right? That's like your job title, and you're an entrepreneur. Self-made.
Yeah. I mean, so I started off just like coaching people with like, fitness and stuff. And I call myself a mindset coach because there's like a lot of tools within my coaching and like ways of going about improving your mindset. Like, for example, we do like a weekly call.
Mm-hmm.
Every week, me and the group, we do like a 60-minute live call, and we basically strategize like things you wouldn't really think about, like nothing really like nutrition or training related, which we do get sometimes talk about that on those calls, but it's more like the approach,
Right.
and stuff like that. So yeah, that's I call myself I don't. It's like a weird thing to call yourself like a mindset coach, I guess, but the reason I say it is because there's just a lot of things I teach that have a lot of utility with
Right.
like improving your mindset, but.
Yeah, they go hand in hand, and people, they struggle with the same things, and really that's the thing that's holding them back. Why they're not dieting and exercising and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a mindset thing for sure.
For sure. Now, how many people have you coached?
Like in my life,
Yeah.
honestly, probably over like 1,000 at this point.
Wow.
Because I've been coaching since I was 19.
Right.
Well, I mean, I've been coaching since I was like 16, 15. Because actually, it's funny. I'll just name drop. Do you know who Aaron Mulich is?
I've heard of him.
I do.
He was one of the first people. Actually, it's funny that he might not even know this. He was one of the first people that I wrote a diet and workout plan for.
Okay.
This shit.
Yeah, and this is just because I was just like messing around in school once. And I guess I started to coach because I really liked, because people needed the help.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like a practical thing at first. Like I wasn't always like in the beginning, like, oh, I want to coach people. Like I wasn't really like thinking about it. It
Just
just
natural.
people just wanted the help. And then, it turns into a business, obviously, like when you start charging people for it. And I realized, because at first you start helping people, then you want to make money off of it.
For sure.
So, you have to learn, obviously, sales and marketing and stuff like that, especially with social media. But that's kind of, I would say, really, those are like the two main things that I do is like the coaching, but also like sales and marketing. Because like that is like the whole other side of
I want to get
that.
into that later in the podcast for sure, because I mean,
Yeah.
I'm an entrepreneur too, so that's how my brain works. And I want to know, like, kind of like how you do your things, and what's
Yeah,
your
that's why I was
secret.
excited to sit down with you guys, just because
Yeah.
I'm curious about what you guys got going on too.
For sure.
So because
Yeah.
I like what I've seen so far. It looks really good, like all the high quality videos that you're dropping and all the
Appreciate
reels
it,
and
bro.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's dive into your story. What was Gabe like before you got big? Like beginning of high school when you were, I guess you were pretty small, right?
I mean, yeah, I was skinny, really skinny. Actually, bodybuilding came from a very interesting place, actually, and this will have to do with like why I was like skinny and why I had like a certain image in middle school. We could say, because that was like before I started working out. I was in a band. I was in music for a long time. And I've found that I emulated people that I admired a lot. So like I would dress and try to be like people that I saw in bands.
Mm.
You guys can probably relate to this if you had like you know, sports person, maybe like an athlete that you looked up to.
Definitely.
I wasn't like I've always been more into like music and like the arts versus like sports and stuff. So which has a lot to do with my approach with bodybuilding. But yeah, I didn't care about like athletics or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was always from like an aesthetic point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And before I started working out, I guess, you know, I really I liked art and stuff like that. Like I like drawing and music. So that's kind of who I was before I started working out. You know, I didn't working out came really weird. It was a really weird thing for me. Like I was like really young, and honestly, part of it was like I saw other people getting attention because they were like more muscular.
Okay.
So like that was like something that was like, oh, like if you're more muscular, like you're more like admired and people like take you more seriously.
Yeah.
Like they might respect you more because your outward appearance like says a lot about who you are, you know, what you do, like behind closed doors, kind of, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So
No,
like
for sure.
it like shows like who you are as a person, I guess. So I've always I'm not really afraid to admit it, but I've always been aware of my image from a young age, like
Yeah.
how I look to other people and how I present myself to other people. Not that I really think that it matters so much as like you have to like be a certain way, but I've always known that people look at you and they make these, you know, first impressions are everything, you know. People judge
Oh, yeah.
you based off the way you look, you know, which I'm not really asking to be, you know, liked, but it's more that I've always just had an awareness of like, okay, like people, how you look is really kind of like an, you know, a clear reflection of who you are on the inside. So
For sure.
you know,
Now, what was your confidence like? Like, what was your personality like before, you know, you got big?
honestly, dude, you know, because a lot of people say that they weren't confident and they weren't like,
Yeah.
you know, maybe they were bullied into working out or exercising, or like, you could even say that about anything, like
Yeah.
bullied into like making more money or like having a certain status,
For
right?
sure.
But honestly, dude, I wasn't really like I didn't really have like a low self-esteem. I think I had really good parents. Like my parents encouraged me a lot. Like my mom really believed in me, so I never really felt like we never really focused on like weaknesses. It was only like pushing the strengths.
For sure.
So like I was like really good at like drawing, so I would like only do that. And like music,
Mhm.
so I would like only focus on that. And I was always like one track minded.
Yeah.
But I always had confidence because I was free and open and able to do the things that I was good at. You know, thanks to my mom, really. You know, skateboarding is another one too, which was like when I was younger. But I would say I was less confident though, only because obviously you don't put your body through years of training and nutrition and all of that for nothing. You know,
Yeah.
I did desire, you know, better for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, when you start working out or you start a fitness endeavor, you don't really know what you're getting into until you start. And there's just all this other stuff that comes with it
Oh,
that
yeah.
you just never really expected.
Mm-hmm.
So you do, it's so funny. Like we have an idea of maybe what it's going to look like, but it always is a little different.
Yeah.
And you learn, I don't know, you just learn so much about yourself in the process. But yeah, before, I honestly, I don't even want to say like I was like super low self-esteem or not confident. I kind of was because with the whole music thing, I was in a band for a long time.
Right.
And I guess I always felt like this weird thing ever since I was like a young kid. Like I had to be really good at something.
Yeah.
Like, and it literally would. Am I allowed to curse on this?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Fuck yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say it would bother the fuck out of me, and I say I'm not afraid to admit this because I feel like a lot of maybe guys are, is that it really pissed me off when people were better than me at something. You know, if they were better than me at anything, it just like I got so competitive, Like, and I would be like so like inquisitive about like why,
Yeah.
you know, like I would be like so over analytical, you know. Maybe you guys have, you know, I don't know. Maybe you know you could say that with like even sports teams in high school, you know.
Oh, for sure.
Like, why is this person better than me? Like, he just like wakes up, like does the same thing as me. But why is he better than me? You know. So that really irked me. So I think a lot of that drove me because I wanted to like do something. I've always wanted to do something significant. Like, it just like one of my worst fears is like, it sounds so cliche, but like being average, I guess. But like not even that. Like more like just like
On tap potential.
yeah, or like just like it sounds weird, but almost like being forgotten.
Yeah.
You know what I
You
mean?
just want to stand out in something.
Yeah, you want to just
Yeah.
stand out. You know what I mean? And I
sure.
feel like I've always like been aware of that. You know, it used to just keep me up at night. Honestly, like as a young person, like yeah, I'm 27. I still consider myself young, but I mean like, you know, my early teens, especially my 20s, which was more of a struggle period for me, but used to keep me up at night because I would be like, oh man, dude, like we gotta do something significant. Like, you know, we're all trying to do something significant. You know, we all have like an idea of what that is, but that's always drove me since I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, did you have like any people that you looked up to, any mentors like in the beginning of your life?
Yeah, I mean, I would say my mom had a huge impact on me, honestly, and my
sure.
dad too, in different ways. Because obviously, your parents, you know, have a huge impact on you, you know, regardless, just because you're like around them and they're like raising you and stuff. You know, if you're privileged enough to be raised by both parents, which I was, yeah, I would say like it's no one like in particular. Like I you know, I idolized people a lot that were in bands.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I would just like, and I would say this is actually a mistake. Is I would actually as a child, and I think we all do this, and I think it's actually bad. Is we create this giant gap between ourselves and people that are like at the top, you could say, or like, you know, good at something. Like we just do it because like we are told that we're average, or we're told that, like for example in school, like because we all went to the same school. Just think about someone who was like famous while we were in school. You know, like, wow, did you hear what happened like with fucking, you know, Mac Miller? You know, something like that.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, rest in peace, Mac Miller. But like, just we separate ourselves from these people, and you know, think about just like at the most basic level. I'll just give like a funny one. There was like kids in our high school that were like SoundCloud rappers, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that were like rapping, you know, trying to make music. Like that was cool, but like there was literally people that did that. For example, like Mac Miller or like other rapper
Mm-hmm.
that actually did that and became
it.
what they were, right?
Yeah.
And I think that it's almost like we create this gap between ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, it's fair because, you know, it makes sense
Right.
to do that. But I think it's almost like good to keep a little bit of that delusion, because like, you ever see someone who's like a rapper or like someone who's really successful and you're like, how did they even get
Yeah,
where
all
they
the
are?
time.
Look
Oh,
at
yeah.
Jake Paul. That's a good example.
Dude,
With like
that's a great example.
they put like what I'm getting from this is like you put them on a pedestal, and then you're pretty much just like you have like that delusion of like, oh, that could never be me.
Well, yeah. Well, what I'm saying is you put them on a pedestal and you justify why there's a gap between you and them.
Yeah.
Because, you know, people that are older than you are telling you, hey, it's like simmer down, dude. Like, you know, you're good at
Right.
sports now, but like just take it easy, bro. You're not going to go pro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not going to, you know, this music thing is kind of just a hobby for you, man. You know, people tell you and it's actually, they could be right. You know what I mean? You know,
Right.
it's because people have said that to me, and people, you know, like I've had people say like, which I always knew this, that there's no money in bodybuilding, which I always knew that there isn't really money in bodybuilding directly at competing.
Mm-hmm.
But if I actually listened to them, then I would be making no money,
Yeah.
and I would have no following. I would have no business. I would have nothing if I
Probably
actually believed.
Settled down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that from a young age, a big mistake that I made, and this held me back for a really long time, is, dude, and this is actually now one of the things that I preach the most consistently with my messages is that these people that are successful, or like that you see them winning in society, whatever, they're not better than you necessarily, but you can harness the same type of energy for yourself. You can do the same things. Like, you shouldn't make the mistake that I made that held me back for a long time and create that gap between yourself and people that are really good at something or really successful. I just think it's a mistake.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, do you have a coach for your coaching? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, do you have a mentor to help, better your coaching program?
So I did work with one coach directly, one business coach. His name's Wes Watson.
Yeah.
Which was cool. He helped me a lot. He helped me structure my day and simplify my business process. And yeah, he definitely did help grow my business. So shout out to him. Shout out to Wes Watson. He's crazy, dude. He's doing like $2 million a month in like coaching.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Yeah.
High ticket right there.
Yeah, he's doing high ticket. Yeah, some lower ticket stuff and high ticket. But yeah, it's just crazy. So he was like a no-brainer to hire. But to be honest, man, I've really followed primarily, a few people. I don't know if you know I'm sure you know who Alex Hormozy is.
Oh yeah.
That's
100%.
one big one for me.
Yeah.
Andy Frisella, huge one for me. Those guys, and Wes, obviously, I work directly with him, so he's another one. Those guys had a huge impact on me. I learned early on that there's a lot of consistencies with these guys' messages. And it's good to just find the people that you resonate with the most, because you're going to be able to digest the message the best.
For sure.
Because, and this is another thing that holds people back, I think, is like, there's so many people out there and there's so much information out there. It's like, who do you listen to? And this is actually a really good piece of advice that actually Alex Hormozy said, is to just pick those core people, kind of like study them, or pick those 4 or 5 books, read them 5 times each, right?
For sure.
And, you can really digest the information. I think that's really important.
Yeah,
just
mastery. You want to master
yeah,
something.
hone in, master. You don't have to have this like scattered approach of trying to learn
Not gonna
everything.
go anywhere. Yeah.
Because then it hurts you too. Because then you're like, oh my God, I didn't like do this. I'm not doing this guy's program and this program at the same time before 5 a.m. It's like just not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People create mental constraints. I think that's another thing that the entrepreneurship space did too, is it creates these imaginary constraints where people are like, well, I didn't wake up at 2:30, so like my day is fucked. And like,
I'm
or
a
like I
fucking
didn't like
loser.
do red light therapy, or ice bath, which, not saying those things aren't beneficial and you can't do them, but like, you don't want to do something or do a new process that's going to complicate your life. I think simplification is key.
You kind of have to follow your formula. You got to find your formula.
Yeah, 100%. That's huge. That's a huge one. People overlook that.
Yeah, for sure.
People will overlook what you just said, and that is a huge key. Is literally finding your own way.
Right.
Because people get so stressed out. They're like ripping their hair out. They're like, oh, like, how am I going to do all this? I just had a conversation with my girlfriend the other day about this. I said, you know what? Because she's a coach too.
Okay.
I actually mentored her to be a coach and taught her how to coach.
That's sick.
So she just signed her 3rd client today. Actually, shout out Cassie.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, she. So basically, I was telling her, I was like, babe, we got to get rid of the idea of balance. I said, we just got to literally stop acting like we need to work before 11 and train at this. I was like, let's just hit the ground running and just build this thing. Like, let's not like create these constraints about, sometimes we wake up early, sometimes we wake up a little later. It's probably better to wake up early, right? But like, we wake up and like, I tell her like, the battle is in our mind. Like, it's in our mind. Like, if we stop ourselves before we even start,
Right.
it's gonna mess us up. And I think this, especially in entrepreneurship, is the real battle every day. Is, I'm sure you guys have worked jobs before. You do work jobs. You guys know that, and we've been to high school together, so
Right.
you guys know how your day is structured. Then you go into entrepreneurship and you trade a 9 to 5 for a fucking 6 to 9, 6 to 11. Like,
Yep.
you trade that for all out. And I think that if you're craving balance and you're craving, a more realistic, I think you should stay at more of like a job. And I think it's good. And I don't think it's bad.
Right.
I just think that, it's really important to understand that there really is no not as much balance as you want to be in this, what we do, you know?
Right. Yeah. For sure.
It's just like hit the ground running.
Yeah. So you mentioned your mind before, and I
Yeah.
want to kind of dig into, the mind, and then you kind of have your soul and your spirit. Like, what are the differences there, in your head, or
Yeah.
your mind and your intuition or your inner voice? Like, what's your thought pattern there?
Yeah. So this is, we could talk about this for a long time, but
yeah.
I think it's, I've always thought of myself, we can get as deep as we want really, but I've always thought of myself as like a vessel for, almost like a, I don't even want to sound like so crazy about it, but like almost like a messenger. And we can get into, so my name's Gabriel, which means messenger.
Okay.
So I don't know if you guys know anything about the Bible, but
Yeah, a little bit.
Angel Gabriel is the one who met with Mary, and then Mary was like impregnated with Jesus, right?
Okay.
So he brought the good news of Jesus, right?
Yeah.
So, and I've said this before in a podcast, I think everyone's name has a meaning, and that's like part of our purpose. I've always thought of ourselves as vessels, like the physical body as like the vessel. Like this is like, we use our hands and our feet to move about the world and like create and destroy, right? Like, do we have this vessel? But I truly think that, depending on what you believe, this is what I believe. I believe that there's for sure a higher power, that is the spirit, and it's not us. I think it's just something else.
Right.
And I've truly believed that there's been times in my life where, I've been signaled by like a higher power, a higher consciousness to, I don't even want to get so deep about it, because if I have to like use the right vocabulary, because people will kind of shut down, but it's very simple. I can make this example. Like if you've ever been doing something, working a job, doing anything in a relationship where you're like, so you feel this resistance, or you feel like a physical pull, and maybe it can manifest as stress or anxiety or depression, overthinking. And I truly believe that these feelings and these things are signals.
Right.
And learning how to master them is key. But I've always thought that the greatest things have not really come from me, but rather when I'm open to receiving them and then transmuting them to my audience, if that makes sense. In that regard, with
sense.
social media,
Definitely makes. We talk about that a lot.
without getting too deep.
Yeah.
As deep as you want, man.
Yeah,
I completely resonate with that.
Yeah.
I just went through something pretty recently. Like I was feeling a pull,
for sure.
and I was just like, "Fuck." I was like, "All right, well, it's time then." You know, I just kind of went with it. But yeah, I completely get what you're saying, dude. And it hits home. That's so weird.
Yeah. Well, it's weird, but it's not at the same time, because I mean, I've had the same conversation with other guys kind of like our age. You guys are what, 24, 25?
24, 23.
23. Okay. So I'm 27. So I'm like a few years older than you, but had this conversation with a couple guys the other day about how, you will feel like a push and a pull towards certain things in your life.
Yeah.
And you have to use that to dictate your decision making.
Now, do you think there's a strategy that you can use, like as far as like meditation, self-care, that can help you follow that voice in your head or like that intuition better?
Yeah. And I think we kind of got it all wrong with the whole passion thing. Because most people think passion is like, oh, you do what you're passionate, you never work a day in your life. And I'm not trying to get too deep about this, but if we actually think about what passion means, passion does not mean, passion just is like passion is like an expression. It's like an exuberance, like extreme enthusiasm about something, right?
And that comes and goes.
Yeah, sure, but what that doesn't mean like there's not gonna be parts of that aren't messy. You know what I mean? And I think that, for example, strategy, really simple strategy, is listening to your inner voice. Like you're not just anxious for no reason. Like there's a it's likely that you're dropping the ball somewhere. If you're depressed, like check your environment, check your digestion, like content, food, people that you're around.
Yep.
What are you what are you consuming? You know, I think that people really need to check themselves, and a good strategy is to just listen to that inner voice and man, check all the boxes. Like, we've all had days where, you know how it feels, man. Check all the boxes, hit the hay. You're like, dude, I killed it today.
Right.
Like, that's the best feeling ever.
For sure.
You sleep like a baby,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because you did everything that you needed to do with the tools available, and that's all you can do.
Oh yeah.
So that's a strategy right there.
For sure.
You just do what you can.
Yep.
You know, I don't mean to make that sound so oversimplified, but
That makes sense.
yeah,
It's probably got to be the hardest thing to do is make someone more self-aware of what they're doing. Like, you can tell someone
100%.
until they're blue in the face exactly what they need to do,
yeah,
but if they can't
make 'em
the
do it.
reason why to themselves,
Yeah.
they need to know why they're doing this. Because if they don't have any reason, then they're not going to do it. And being more self-aware is the first step.
100%.
And it's hard, and it's especially hard these days, dude, because it's so easy to get distracted. You start feeling a certain, you're sad, pissed off, whatever. Oh, let me just,
Oh, 100%.
you know, you just completely, you just blindfold to whatever the fuck you're feeling.
yeah,
You just, you mask it with something else, and
Yeah.
then another day goes by, and it's just the same process over and over and over.
I
Yeah,
think
for sure.
I was gonna say I think that's a really good way to kind of look at it too, because like the way you just picked up your phone, I think that people have to remember that these things happen on a moment by moment basis. Like, these changes, these little pivots, or these little, changes in like the decisions that you're making, they happen on a moment by moment basis. They don't happen like you wake up one day and, of course, yeah, how many times have we been like, yeah, tomorrow's the day, right? And you start and but it does happen on a moment by moment basis. It's conquering the mind. It's saying like, I know I need to work right now.
Yeah.
I feel like shit. I keep coming back to this spot. I keep coming back to this spot over and over again. Like, you kind of get fed up. You're like, all right, I need to put my phone down now. I just have to. Like, I have to put it in the other room, or I have to like put this down, or I have to like cut this person out of my life. Like, I just have to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Because I edit a lot, and like I'm just editing for like hours on end, and like my mind is like kind of foggy, and then I go out on a walk, nature, no phone, and everything's just so clear after that.
Oh yeah. That's a really, really good one, dude. Taking walks
100%
is life changing, bro.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So simple, but so hard at the same time.
Yeah.
I will say I haven't done that. I haven't gone just for like a casual stroll.
Never,
Not really.
ever.
I mean, I'll go for a run,
Can't
But-
say ever, but
but not like
Bro.
just a casual stroll.
All right, you gotta try that ASAP.
Yeah, I think it was I forget whose quote it was. You can look it up, but it's all great thoughts are conceived by walking.
Mm,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I think it was Frederick Nietzsche or something like that. He wrote I forget what book he wrote. You have to quote me on that. You have to look it up. But
Yeah.
he wrote
Pull
a
it up on
book
the
about
screen.
surviving in the concentration camps.
Okay.
Frederick something. Yeah, he wrote a crazy book. One of the most famous books of all time. It's crazy. I
Interesting.
can't remember it, but yeah, he wrote all great thoughts are conceived by walking. So, I mean, that's the thing, dude, is we have to have those strategies and those methods of pulling back for a little bit just to recalibrate,
Absolutely.
and that's what high performing people do. Like the literal highest performing people you can think of, they work staggered. Like, as in like they'll work and burst and they'll take like a break. And then they work and then they take a break and they work and they take, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't be creative if you're just going at it.
100% And of
all
course
the time.
we have those moments where we're like super creative and we're like, I'm killing it right now. I'm chugging the
In that
coffee.
flow
Like
state.
everything is just like pop, everything's just, coming out right now.
Yeah.
But, I think it's good to like pull back sometimes. You know what I mean?
For
Trying
sure.
to like force something that's not there doesn't always come out as genuine or as nice as you want it to.
For
I
sure.
guess.
By the way, guys, you guys can go follow Gabe on Instagram, Gabe No Victim.
Yeah, Gabe
Right?
No Victim. On
Same thing on TikTok.
Instagram, YouTube. Yep.
Got it. Cool. So, what do you? I look at your content. It's definitely next level, and it definitely comes from a lot of experience. I'm sure.
Appreciate you, bro.
Like, are you reading books? Are you listening to podcasts? Like, where are you getting all this information at so that you can like, consistently just spit out this content?
Yeah, I mean, So I'll just say this. This whole journey really started for me in probably like 2015.
Okay.
And journey, I mean like deciding that I'm not going to go to college. Like I'm pretty much closing that book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I think in kind of like I got, later into my 20s, my life kind of got like this and my focus kind of got more and more narrow. And I was like, I really don't have another choice. And it was kind of like, I liked it that way because I knew what I needed to do. But I forgot the question you asked. I'm so sorry. I forgot the question you asked.
Yeah. So like basically I want to know basically how you get so smart.
Yeah. I mean, so obviously like a lot of this stuff comes from life experience, but where I actually like where the idea does come from, I mean, I hate to say it because I'm not trying to be redundant here, but I literally make a lot of my videos walking. And I sit there and I mean, honestly, man, I made a video the other day. Here's a great example. It comes from the most genuine place. Like a lot of this stuff is stuff that I'm struggling with or have struggled with that where I learned something in the process. And Alex Hormozy said this actually. He said the best way that he learns is through teaching.
Oh, yeah.
And it's crazy the positive reinforcement I've gotten from this type of content.
Right.
Knowing that it is helping people. But I mean, for example, I made a video the other day. I go, if you wake up and you feel lost, watch this video because I'm going to make a valid point to you. And quite literally, it was just so relatable. I said, do you wake up? Remember, do you ever wake up and you open your phone and you start comparing yourself to other people? Like, obviously, anyone's going to feel lost because they're not going to know what path they're on, right? They're going to start comparing themselves to other people. And I told them, and I basically said in this video, I said, where you start to feel lost is when you lose focus. And you can just decide to realign at any moment. And this was something that I was struggling with the other day. Is that like I am my screen time is insane. My screen time's like 13 hours a day, 12 hours a day.
Wow.
Holy but shit. I'm in my, I'm DMing people, I'm making content, I'm editing videos on CapCut. I'm on my phone basically all day.
Okay, so you're making all your content right now? You're doing
I do everything? My girlfriend helps me out. Sometimes she'll like clip up some podcasts for me.
Yeah.
Just for time, honestly.
For sure.
Because I'll be doing something else. But yeah, if I see like a good clip, I'm like, oh, I just like chop it up real quick, boom, boom, boom.
For sure.
I'm kind of particular about like, something that I take pride in, but also something that does hold me back for sure. It's kind of like it's like a dichotomy. Is like I'm really good on my own, but I know like I go farther with help from other people, but I'm like so stubborn that like I'd rather just like boom, 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 like no balance, just boom, 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 just edit, put it out, content, 20 videos a day, just working out, merch, like just like, I don't know, like something about that. It just, I'm like stubborn and kind of stuck in my own ways, which has really helped me, but also it's like, hurts me at the same time.
Yeah, there's a saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yeah, 100%. I'm like the type of person that like I'm like sometimes I can be bad. Like for example, with my girlfriend, like I'll be teaching her how to do something, and I'll just be like, just let me do it. Like because I just want to get it done. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like that. Like I'd rather do as much as I can on my own.
For sure. But I want to talk like business a little bit, and like my mind is like, lead generation, marketing. How are you doing your discovery calls, your DM process? Like what's the best way you're getting your leads, and then how are you delivering? Like what are all the deliverables?
Yeah, for sure. So I primarily market my business on Instagram.
Right.
So I have a pretty big TikTok following. I have like 400,000 on TikTok, but I primarily market on Instagram.
Right.
It's better for direct sales.
For sure.
So let's just talk business for example. I have a daily blueprint that I adhere to. It's just like training.
Right.
And I execute on the blueprint every single day. And there's certain pieces of content that need to go out every day. Stories is like next level for what I'm doing, service-based business. You can direct sell through stories. Like, it's insane the amount of leads you can get and the amount of traction you can get just through stories. So my funnel basically works like this. I use TikTok to build overall brand. It put a dent in the industry for me, you know, put my name in the industry, fitness industry. I used it to build a little bit of my Instagram. Most of my Instagram was built through Reels, but I'll make, you know, a few Reels a day, a few TikToks a day. I do shorts. Sometimes I do long form YouTube content, but I primarily focus on Instagram. And I bring my leads in through the reason why I'm able to bring so many leads in every day is organically, is because the part of personal branding where I'm very strong at is my documentation process. And I actually live this lifestyle. So my personal branding is my life. So it's not hard to brand it. So a lot of this content comes I'm literally telling you, I have to get down to the most genuine place within myself to be able to think of this content. I have to really quite literally think, what is someone actually going to take away from this? Yes, of course, I want people to feel things when they read and see my stuff. Yes, because the truth is that, and I will never admit, or excuse me, I will never lie and say that I'm not business minded and I'm not money motivated. I want to sign as many clients as I can. You know, I want to build my business as big as I can.
For sure.
You know, and now I'm doing the elite coaching too. So I'm actually coaching coaches to build their businesses.
Oh, I love that.
So like I said, for example, with my girlfriend. So yeah, basically it's really simple, and this will help people a lot because I've worked some sales jobs and stuff like that, and I always thought sales was about, you know, neuro-linguistic programming and all, like, you know, say the right thing and don't be too excited and don't give too much and take a list, you know. And when I really learned about what business was, and it really quite simply, it's just a transaction of value, right? Like, both parties, you get the product or service, the money, right? Vice versa. And it's just a transaction of value. And that really, when you can keep that in your head in the sales process, it really makes things easy.
Right.
Quite literally, you know, I do everything myself. I close all my clients myself, bring them into my DMs. Obviously, I know the people to go through because I'll have them DM me like start or no victim 2023, you know, muscle pathway, you know, get huge, whatever. And I talk to these people and quite literally have a normal conversation with them. Sometimes I'll send them a video, you know, kicking my feet up, and I'll just be like, hey man, like, let me know, this is what it is. I can send you the info, right? Like, every conversation is different, but you know, 3 primary things that I'm trying to get to the bottom of is what their goals are, obviously, because I need to know what direction they're, you know, trying to go in. What they've been struggling with, right? Because I'm trying to hone in and make them a more complete individual just in all areas. And when they're ready to start. That's pretty much it. You know what I mean? And the reason why I create a lot of urgency in my sales process, and I'm extremely convicted of my services, like I know that I can help.
For sure.
So something I used to do that used to hurt me is I would oversell. And it helped me be able to sell better, but I would oversell because I would always blame myself if I couldn't close a client.
Yeah.
I would say, well, I just need to get better at building rapport, or I didn't say this right, or I didn't say that. Like, I would never just believe that they weren't in my market.
Right.
Like, I thought everyone was closable. So I was trying to just close everyone. So I would oversell. And that took away from my value.
Gotcha.
Because if I really am convicted of my product, if I know that my product or service is that good, I'm not going to have to oversell it to you. All I need to do is see if I can solve your problems and make you an offer.
Right.
You know?
Definitely.
And if now there's a difference between you not being closable and you literally lying to yourself and me having to call you out on it. Because if you're posting on your Instagram a money spread and you got off-white fucking, you know, shoes or whatever, and you're doing this and you're doing that, and you're telling me my coaching's out of your budget, and you tell me you eat out every meal, which that is the discovery process, right? I'm just asking them simply, like, I'm qualifying them, you know, in the most basic way.
Definitely.
Then you're just lying to yourself. You know, because if I have a grown man that's telling me, I run a business, I got 5 kids, and then he tells me he's going to think about the price, but then I have a 19-year-old kid that doesn't even think twice.
Right.
and signs up immediately, then I know, you get what I'm saying? Like I want to close people that are closable. Anyway, that's something that really held me back for a while.
Now, how do you get people to stick around?
To stay?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just super simple. It's just, you just give them like an extraordinary service.
Yep.
The little things matter. Like, I talk to all my clients individually.
Right.
You know, through my app. So, for example, my deliverable, this is actually part of what keeps clients to stay too. My deliverable is a private app. So it's an app that has custom training program on it, custom macro meal plan. You can track everything. It's a calendar. And then you get notifications for everything, like to check in, send pictures, weigh in, and all your data, you know, even like your measurements, everything is like in a graph. So I can actually like literally see your progress.
I love that.
So that's super effective. Another thing too, that just creates a ton of value. And there's really not a lot of coaches that do this. And it's I think I said this before, it's our weekly calls where we really dive deep on like some sort of like mindset topic. And that has just created like next level value, because you got literally kids that are like 19 years old, like struggling with like girl problems. Then you got like business owners, successful business owners that are like dropping 50 pounds, and they're on the call together and they're talking to, and we're all conversating and we're all helping and lifting each other up.
Yeah.
And not only that, is something I purposely do on these calls is I let them know that we are like a team, a group, and we are doing something that is above average.
Definitely.
So like when they're part of the group, I really like to let them know, like, hey, this is not just like you take your question. This is actually a community of guys trying to better themselves. We're all going in the same direction. So it's just it just creates so much value.
Absolutely.
That really gets people to stick around for sure.
Love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a huge believer that like men, especially, thrive in groups, community.
Yeah.
I mean, the easiest ones like sports teams and stuff. It was like about their chemistry, their camaraderie. It's just, I've always been a huge believer in that, so I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
it's fucking sweet.
It's a huge dude. And honestly, man, it's just changed me as a man. If I'm being honest, like it's changed me as a leader. Like it's taken me to new levels of like thinking, and because I really want to create value for these guys. You know what I mean? So, and then it's like I can't say something and not do it. So holding myself accountable through the coaching process. I was talking about about this with my girl the other day, and I was just saying how the coaching process makes you a better leader, and it's like the self-development that you go through in the process of just entrepreneurship really is like insane. It's like exponential because you're like, if you're really making the moves, like the compound effect is just mind-boggling, dude.
Oh yeah.
Especially with like just entrepreneurship as a whole, because there's no ceiling, you know?
For sure. Yeah. Where do you see this all going?
That's a good question. Dude, honestly, I'm very much like the habits are so important to me.
Yeah.
Like the daily process is so important to me. And that's really where I found like the most power is knowing what to do on a daily basis to get the result. That's where most people are at, is like they just don't know what to do, or they think it's something, but it's very simple. You do what works every single day without fail. You know, not saying your emotions won't come into play, but you essentially control your emotions and you just keep going, you know? So basically, like for example, this is my clothing brand, No Victim. These hoodies are dropping like next month, but this clothing brand and my name, like, you know, No Victim, I have it tattooed on my knuckles. This is like my whole brand, No Victim. And it's basically going to be like one company that holds like clothing, coaching, and just like everything else.
Yeah.
So No Victim is really going to be huge. Not just huge, but like I really want it to be like a real fucking brand. Honestly, the end goal, really a big goal for me is I want to have like a whole comp. I don't know if you've ever been to Alpha Land or you heard what Alpha Land is.
I just
Alpha
went
Land
to
Gym.
Fusion.
Fusion.
Yeah.
So with Alpha Land, and shout out Christian Guzman. He's a legend, dude. Like he really did it. Like he did the gym, and he's got the store, and he's got the, you know, like the restaurant and the basketball courts and the whole club. And it's just like, that is the ultimate goal, you know, is to take this thing to the end. You know what I mean? And I really believe in this brand. And yeah, like I said, I really believe in the daily process. So I just know if I just keep going and doing exactly what I'm doing and really honing in every day, getting more focused, 1% better every day, not trying to find, you know, the next best thing or have that shiny object syndrome, which, you know, holds a lot of people back.
For sure.
Man, I know it works. Really, what I'm telling you, like what I said before about the video, what holds people back is that they're not focused. Like once you get to a certain age, 20, 21, 22, I'm not saying you can't learn more, but you pretty much know at that point, all right, I need to do this, I need to do that for a long period of time, you know, and I need to commit to it.
Yeah, it's simple. It's not easy. But
It's simple. It's not easy. No, of course not.
Right. Yeah. So how do you manage, you know, your yes management, what you say yes to, what you say no to? Like, for example, like this podcast. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's a good opportunity? What's a bad opportunity for it right now?
So, yeah, I've really been trying to practice, just like goodwill.
Yeah.
And like, I am very much like attracted to groups of people that are doing what you guys are doing, like podcast, brand, you know, social media, because I understand the power of it. So if I see someone else that recognizes the power of social media and wants to take advantage of it, I respect it. So I feel like there's a mutual understanding. So that's one. Mutual understanding is one that really draws me to someone to do like a podcast or do something like this. But to say yes and no, that's pretty much it. Is I'm not, because I actually, this is a really good topic actually. Especially for the younger guys, maybe listening to this. I challenge you to just maybe question the activities that you're partaking in on a daily basis, especially in that first year after high school. You know, I know a lot of guys use the whole gap year thing, and whatever, gap year, whatever, call it whatever you want. You don't have to call it anything. But just kind of take inventory of the people that you're hanging around. A lot of these high school relationships, it's pretty actually rare that you guys are still friends. It's like been what, 8 years since you graduated, 7 years, right?
I don't even know, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary.
So it's rare.
It's very rare.
Yeah. It's rare, but just be careful who you're surrounding yourself with. I think that's just like a huge
100%
one. Yeah.
Yeah. So what does no victim mean to you?
I was gonna ask that too.
Yeah. So I've talked about this before. And I explain it a little bit differently every time, but I'm able to like go into a little more detail every time too, because no one's really asked me this much, but it's very simple. Where I actually came up with the word like the phrase no victim, is I've said this before, my earlier 20s were a really challenging time for me. Childhood was good, early teenhood was good, and then up until like 16, 17, like my parents got divorced. So my whole life changed because of that, obviously like financial reasons. And then like, my family basically being, pulled apart essentially. So that had a huge impact on me. But yeah, I found myself at this point so much where I was honestly such a victim. Like I was just like, if I could explain it like this, I was at the mercy of everything that was happening in my life. Had no control over my like environment. Parents were getting divorced, everything was just happening around me, and I just felt like I was just getting like beat down by life. And I got to a very, very low point, and I talked about this before, where I would consider myself suicidal at this point, and maybe like a week later, I actually heard about my friend passed away. He killed himself. From his brother messaged me on Instagram, and it was like the day after my birthday. Actually, he killed himself. October 8th is my birthday. October 9th, he killed himself. Wow. Yeah, his name was John. So I'm not gonna act like, and I always say this because this is important. Because I wouldn't want someone doing this if I passed away. I'm not going to act like he was my best friend when he died. He wasn't.
Mhm.
I hadn't talked to him in a few years, but we were childhood friends.
Yeah.
And his funeral really, really changed my life because I wasn't even going to go because I was like, I don't even know why I was invited because like we skated together as kids. We spent a lot of time together, probably age like 9 to like 13.
Mm-hmm.
And we skateboarded together. He was my neighbor, and I wasn't even going to this funeral. I ended up going, and I saw his dad, and like me and his dad basically were just like crying in each other's arms, and it just really impacted me because like his dad was just in so much pain. His brother was obviously in so much pain. And like I said previously, I had the same feeling, like I wanted to take my own life, and I have a tendency of writing things in my notes during really low points in my life, like in my iPhone notes. I'd take out my notes and I would just write things, just what would come to mind. It wasn't always positive. Sometimes it was like extremely negative. And I would just write it. And I would always look back on times like that. And I wrote this, basically I wrote this, like no victim, like to start to think of what kind of mindset I could harness in those low points where you do feel like you're going to, you know, kill yourself basically, and I'm not going to say we've all been there, but I can only speak from experience. You feel hopeless, when you get to those moments. And this no victim thing is basically an empowering mindset that no victim is like, no matter what happens, no matter what circumstances you're exposed to or any situation that you're put in, no victim is a mindset that you can harness to basically be like, I call it like the great equalizer. It's like no victim, literally nothing breaks that. Do you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So when I think of no victim as a whole, I think of like, people message me all the time. Like I started to just say no victim in my videos. Obviously my name is Gabe No Victim on everything.
Yeah.
I have like a little graphic that I'll tag in my video sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started to say no victim after I'd write a long caption.
Right.
And people started to DM me and they would be like, dude, like your whole no victim mentality thing. Like I didn't even have to really say what it was.
Yeah.
It was very self-explanatory because people started to resonate with it. And they're like,
For sure.
this whole no victim mentality is like, I had a guy that got it tattooed on his arm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, people are obviously resonating with it. They don't need it doesn't need to be explained, right? Like I'm explaining it now, but I'm saying like the people that understand it. And they're like, this no victim mentality. It's like, oh, like no one's ever told me that before. Like I was raised thinking like this is it for me. Like we're fucked. We live in this, and no offense to anyone who lives in a trailer park right now, but if you like it, you like it. But I'm saying we live in this trailer park. We're broke and we have nothing to our names and we're nobodies, right?
Mm.
I mean, our family's never been anybody, right?
Yeah.
But what if you were told a different story? What if you were told this story of this no victim mentality where you can go through the worst shit ever, worse than my circumstances, and still come out on top, even further than me. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just limitless. So that's basically where no victim came from. It came from really after his funeral. I started to think like there's no way that wasn't a signal. There's no way that wasn't this is what it's like when you take your own life. And it was surreal. Like I have a picture of him on my dashboard. I look at it every day.
Yeah.
And this is why kind of part of the reason I make the content I do. I think about him a lot. I think about where he might have been.
Right.
And that's how I make a lot of my videos. And I just think I always make this scenario, and I of course I didn't even know him when he did this, but because I hadn't seen him in years. But I always think, what if he knew, and what if he knew this information? Like, what if he knew about the no victim mentality? Like, no one really ever told him that. You know what I mean? Not his, I'm not saying his family were bad people, but they just didn't know. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's where it came from, man.
For sure. Yeah. I feel like some of your work, it saves lives.
I really do too. And honestly, it's weird because it's this weird thing, man, where people will even send me like the most heartfelt DMs.
Mm-hmm.
And I even read it and I'm like, I almost don't even like believe it.
Wow.
I'm just like, I see it and I'm like, for a brief moment, I'm like, that's cool. But then I'm like, that just made me feel like I didn't do enough for some reason. Like, I just feel like I need to do more.
Right.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I guess when I see it, it just reinforces the fact that it's working. So I guess I want to do more
For sure.
of it. But yeah, people really do need a mindset shift. I think it's the most important thing, man. Mindset is the most important thing, dude.
Yeah, just to like change that direction in their life, you know, because they were going here and then they found you and now they're going here.
Yeah.
You know, because Nick, I was talking to Nick. I was doing a photo shoot with him.
Yeah.
And he was just telling me how much, you know, you changed his life.
Wow.
Like in high school, like he had no muscle, and then like you came along and you changed his whole life.
Yeah.
And it's not just, you know, the body, but it was the mindset too.
Yeah, Nick. Shout out Nick Pfeiffer. He was one of my first clients actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick is one of my best friends actually. Nick, I resonated with Nick early on because Nick reminded me of my younger self. Because Nick was kind of like, he was had a very low confidence when I first met him. He was like skinny fat.
Yeah.
He was rather, and he admits this too, he was rather like annoying. He would badger me a lot because he really wanted to get in shape, but I was waiting for him to really prove it because everyone says that.
Yeah.
But then they don't actually follow through.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah. I just blew him off. But then he really, really was like, no, like, and then he started to make a little bit of progress.
Right.
So I started to take him seriously because he was putting in the work.
Yep.
But Nick, see, this is the truth about Nick, is that Nick, what he didn't know, I had to tell him about himself. And then once he knew, he was like, oh, he's like, maybe I am good enough. Maybe I am confident. Maybe I am really authentic. Maybe I am a very outspoken person and it's a good thing. I used to tell him, I used to say, bro, you're like the most unfiltered like person. Like when he can like, there's no awkward moment for him.
Yeah.
He could be like, yeah, you guys are being weird. I'm out. Like, he's just like that. And like, I've always respected that about him. Like, he'll call people out. He doesn't let there be like this weird fake tension in the air. I've always seen him as a person of integrity and a person of authenticity. Like, he's just a real motherfucker.
For sure.
So what I'm saying is I saw that in him, and if he didn't know, he might have not known. And I used to tell him, I said, bro, like, you're literally, like, you have to understand how powerful you are. Like, I think he's a really good speaker. Obviously, he has really good genetics. We've seen that at this point.
Yeah.
But I think he's a great leader. And I always encourage him too. I say, hey, you know, in your friend group, you can be an example for them, because like, I don't have a little brother or anything, but I would consider him maybe like the closest thing to a little brother. But another thing I didn't mention is that I had a guy mentor me to teach me this stuff.
Right.
And he did the same thing for me that I did for Nick.
Yeah.
I explained this before in a podcast. One of the best things that we can do for somebody is we can see the light, we can see the potential in them and ignite it, right? Like the light in them and ignite it. So like, it's just like someone sitting there beating themselves up and you're like, what do you mean, man? Like,
Right.
you're like you're like the fastest runner I know.
Yeah.
Like, you're amazing at writing. You have like the best like relationship with your mom. Like, you're super organized. You're fucking insane at this. You're crazy at that. You didn't know that?
Right.
And another even crazier thing that to that is a full circle is that my mom used to do this when I was like, not to me, but like, well, yeah, sure, to me, but like to other people, like, and I would observe that as a child, like, right? Like, kids don't do what you say, they do what you do. They copy you.
Exactly.
My mom, because, you know, she's always been a very spiritual person. In church, for example, she would like, just like, it was just wrapping people up in love, like after church, she would just find someone and just be like, just pour out to them, you know? And people needed that. And I never understood, like, why does my mom just pour out her love to people? And why does she like why does she do it? Why does she do it? You know? And honestly, you know, of course she says it's God, Jesus, and all that. But I still just am so fascinated about that, about her, and just I try to emulate that. You know what I mean? I think that's what I did for Nick. And Nick said to me something crazy. He was like, "Bro, I feel like you're like an angel." That's what he said to me once. And I was like, "Dude," I was like, "It's so crazy that what you think is so crazy that I did for you is just regular protocol, man."
Yeah.
Like that's just how I am. And that's how you can be too. That's how you should be too. You know what I mean? Like everyone around you should be trying to bring them up and seeing the best in them and trying to nurture that. I think it's so important, dude.
Now, is there another side of that where you can kind of see what's wrong in a person and kind of call them out on their shit because they need to be called out on it?
100%.
Do you do that all the time?
Well, I think 100%. I think the truth is that seeing the best in someone is actually letting them know that, hey, there's this negative part of you that overpowers this positive part of you.
Yep.
Just so you know. And the more you can learn how to control that or shut that off, the better off you're going to be.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say this too. Being there for someone and seeing the best in someone, that doesn't always mean being nice to them, dude. Because I'll give you an example. I've had severely overweight clients sign up with me. Now, what do you think the regular, like, you know, mindset or conversation was in their house? You're beautiful just the way you are. Everyone else in the family is overweight.
Right.
You know, you're fat phobic. Let's do this. Let's do that. It's something. It's like the elephant in the room, literally. No, but
yeah, it's like fixed mindset versus growth.
Well, they can blame it on other things too. That's where you play the victim.
Right.
100%.
It's easy.
And with being a coach, I've had to learn to kind of, it sounds weird, it sounds bad, but almost like be an asshole. Because if you are surrounded by people that say that they want the best for you, but they don't really show it, they'll just say it, like, and they say that you're beautiful just the way you are, but you feel like shit. You feel like shit about yourself. If I come along and I do the same thing, then I'm not doing anything for you.
Yep.
And the truth is that they need somebody that is half friend, half asshole.
Yeah.
Like, I can take care of you and I can guide you and I can see the best in you. But if I do see the best in you, what that does is that just makes the negative shine even more. That means we can see the negative even more. Do you get what I'm saying?
For sure.
So if I do see the positive in you, I'm also going to see these negative parts of you come through too. And I have to be the one to say, hey, bro, like, I mean, I had a client the other day. He was like, yeah, bro. He's like, I'm losing weight, but like, this is the most food I've ever eaten. I'm like, are you complaining about it? Like, you're losing weight, but like, I was like, are you hungry? He's like, no. I was like, are you stuffed? He's like, not really. It's just, this is the most food I've ever eaten. I'm like, okay, so like, are you happy? He's like, yeah. I'm like, are you losing weight? He's like, yeah. And like, everything was just different. Like, everything was just different than it's ever been. And he was like questioning everything the whole entire time. And I'm just like, dude, like, and you can't really blame people like that. But I've learned with those situations, it's like a lot of people have been lied to their whole lives. A lot of people have been told their whole lives that, you know, they should just accept themselves for the way they are. And like I said, like, there is good things about you, but if there is a behavior that's not serving you and it's causing you pain, you have to learn to fucking oust that.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Period. So to answer your question, long story short, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about like the fear of being successful?
Yeah, that's one. I think that's, I don't know. I've heard of that before, but I really think that people, it's easy to say when you're like not technically like successful by the regular standard. Because I've heard of that, but I don't know. The fear of being successful, it just sounds like, you want to be successful, but quite literally, like everyone else, you're just not, you just don't possess the traits yet, you know?
Yeah.
Which makes sense, you know, but I think one of the things you have to realize too is that people that are like at another level, they're also calloused and they're really good at stress management. They're really good at like time management, money management. I'm not even saying they don't have weak points. Maybe they're not so good at time management. You know what I mean? Or maybe they're bad at certain stuff. But I think it's kind of BS, honestly, bro. I don't know.
Call 'em
Do you know what I
bullshit.
mean? Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I can
Like,
see
what
what you're
like,
saying.
Like more like specifically, like what do you mean by like the fear of success? Like fear of like having too much responsibility?
No,
Because that's what it. Okay.
no, I would say like quite literally being fearful of succeeding.
Oh.
Like the actual success is
Oh.
you're scared of actually just obtaining that.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, have you
Because-
seen that with any
Because
clients?
you haven't because you don't. So I feel like that stems from
So like this guy that you just talked about
Yeah.
being, questioning, confused.
Yeah.
But like he's complaining, but he's not complaining. Like everything is going well for him.
yeah.
He's complaining,
Yeah.
but he's just very like not convinced completely and questioning, curious. Do you think that like that would stem from being fearful of change, being fearful
Well, I think
of getting that
you just said,
success?
change. I don't know if it's success. I think it's change.
I would say there's both though too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing with that is like when people say, well, first of all, for example, with this client, I think that people they measure themselves on the wrong metrics. Like, for example, like scared of success. Like success by standard it's by definition is different for everybody, right? Technically, it's like what you consider successful is not really the same as what I would consider successful.
For sure.
But I think the mistake that people make is that they want a certain level of success, but they base themselves on a metric that doesn't have to do with that type of success, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
So if I could give you an example, it's like if you say, I'll give a really good example. If you say, well, I want to make $1 million,
Yeah.
And you're more focused on, obviously the process of making $1 million is a little different than the process of getting, 1 million followers on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
But if you judge your success, your monetary success based on your TikTok following, you're going to think you're not successful.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what it is. Like, for example, this client was like, well, I'm eating more than I ever have. Like, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. Or like, they just can't accept the fact that like, I don't know, like it's just, they judge themselves based on the wrong metrics. It's like, they almost don't even know. I think, dude, people just don't even know what they want. Like people don't even really know what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think people just experience so much pain that when they don't even really want to be successful as much as they just don't want to be in pain.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I think that's okay. I think some people just have to accept the fact that like, I don't know. This is a scary thought, but accept the fact that like you're just you're not going to be successful, but don't be delusional in thinking that you're going to reach a certain level of success and judging yourself off a metric that doesn't have to do with that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I guess if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
What is the number one reason why people come to you for coaching?
Yeah. Honestly, bro, I think it's because they want to work with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like the reason they come to me is because, they feel like, well, just like you would buy anything from anyone. It's like, first you know about them,
Yeah.
then you like them, then you trust them.
For sure.
Right. So that really is and that's why people work with me, is because they know me, they learn to like me, and they learn to trust me. And I'll give you, it's actually funny. I lose probably 100 followers a day on Instagram, but I gain triple, like 300, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I like that because what that tells me is that what's sticking is sticking for the people that are going to stay, and what isn't, they're flowing through like they should.
Right.
So I'm very good at, like, I'm not going to oversell or like try to pander. Like I have to stay authentic. That's the only way I can really do this long term, is doing it my own way.
Yeah.
And I even said this on the group call with my coach. So it's me, my coach, and a bunch of other like business coaches, or excuse me, fitness coaches. And I said, we're sharing our wins, right? From the past week. And I go, hey, the blueprint works. Like he gave us like a blueprint to help us with our content, right? I said the blueprint works. I said you just have to put your own spin on it.
Mm-hmm.
And lately I've seen like people in the same group, like, and I'm not gonna say like they make content just like me, but you can see how they follow me and their content tries to change. But the reason why my content is strong is because it really is me.
Right.
And this is so important. I want to just say this. Man, if you could just harness your own energy, your own fucking style, your own thing, man, you're
Right.
going to be way stronger. It's just that the way that I do it, you might like it, but the way that you're going to do it and be sustainable with it and enjoy it is if you're really pouring yourself out in a real way.
For sure.
You have to be fearless, man. You have to be
Yeah.
fucking fearless. You have
Yeah,
to be just...
I feel like a lot of people do stuff for their content. Like
Yeah.
you know, and you,
What
you
gets
just
the
have to
most
be your
views?
content. You just got to record your life.
That's
like,
such a
literally.
good point, dude.
Yeah.
They're always trying to do stuff.
Yeah. If you want to make your content exciting,
Yeah.
you have to be exciting. You have
Yeah.
to have an exciting lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
100%.
You want to ask the question that you always ask?
How are you? Hey, how are you?
Is that the question?
No, that's not the question.
Because that actually is a loaded question, bro.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all right.
All right.
You know, I'm good. You know, it's something that I really learned lately is, like I was saying before, is that the whole balance thing is like, you just gotta throw that out the window.
Yeah.
That's a good example of like a constraint that people put themselves through.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like I didn't like send 3 texts out today, and I didn't like, you
Yeah.
know, go to my grandma's house. You know what I mean? And it's just like, that stuff is important for sure, but I think it's just I just think it's so important to not get attached to the idea of trying to balance everything, and that's something that really messes me up sometimes because I try to do fucking
For sure.
everything, dude.
For sure. What's the first thing you think people notice about you?
The tattoos,
Tattoos.
probably, yeah. Before it was probably just like the height,
Okay.
you know,
Where you're like 6'2",
2, which isn't like anything crazy, but like I'm more like muscular, so like it looks. I just look more. I look different, I guess.
Right. What was
Because people are always like, people even say under my post, they're like, not 6'2", not 6'2", maybe 5'10", like whatever, dude.
For sure.
Now the tattoos for sure.
Yeah. What was the last compliment that you got?
Geez, I don't know.
What was the best one you've ever gotten?
The best one I ever gotten. Oh, I like when people say that. I like when people say that I'm real.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that too.
Yeah, because it's important.
For sure.
I think that another thing too with this personal branding thing, and I encourage you too to just like keep this in mind,
For sure.
especially you guys just like, you know, building this podcast and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a real message will reach the masses and it will break through the noise. It's just a slow drip. Like it's not like a viral, like virality is not something you know, you guys probably know this by now. It's not really something you want to chase. You kind of want that slow
Yeah.
branding, right? But that authentic message is, because I'll sometimes get messages where people will be like, dude, you're gonna blow up, or they'll be like, I'll be like, all right, well,
Gonna break.
I'm
the
not
internet.
blowing up
You're gonna
yet,
make
like,
it, dude.
or
Bring me with you.
they're like, why aren't you bigger yet? And it's like, the truth is I could be, and I've chased viral videos for a long time. I had like a lot of videos go viral, and I chased that for a long time, but it didn't really bring me the fulfillment. And when I changed my content over, you know, my following started growing more steady, but I knew it would be like, I knew it's not going to be like an overnight thing, you know?
Yeah.
So I just think it's really important to just, when you preach that like real message and that authentic message, just like, you just have to remember, like, because this is the problem, is people, they judge their success too quickly,
Yeah.
especially with personal branding. 3-6 months, like, believe me, man, I have, you know, probably 78,000 on TikTok or Instagram. There was a time where I had 5 followers, you know, 1,000 followers,
For
you know,
sure.
it just have to do it every day. Like, just, this is something that will maybe motivate you guys listening too, is that we all start at the same time, basically, right? Like, we all, let's imagine like everyone's starting at the starting line, and
Right.
like, if you're in the same like industry or whatever, and as you go along, people will fall out. It's just like a marathon. Haven't you ran a marathon before?
I did an ultra.
Or an ultra.
50
Okay.
miles. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's
Yeah,
fucking insane.
we're doing another one next weekend. 30
Yeah,
miler.
that's insane, dude. So I'm sure, there you go. There's an example. So I'm sure some people drop out on the way. I'm sure some people don't complete it, right?
Yeah.
So, but people who win are the ones who are like literally, quite literally don't stop fucking moving. So I think it's important to realize is that you don't have to look at it like you're competing with other people, but where you will find strength in this is where other people are weak.
Yep.
Their lack of consistency, their lack of balls.
Yep.
They're too scared to make content. Their lack of creativity,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Where everyone else is weak, you can be strong. Well, I just show up more than this dude. I just think a little bit harder before I make that video, man. I just, tap in, boom, it's a little more creative, right? You can just apply yourself a little more, and other people will fall out, in the process. And I think that's literally how you win. I made this example before. What if there was 1/4 of the population? There would be way less competition, no?
Yeah.
Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how you have to look at it, is that you do these things and these, you have this mindset and these daily activities that actually create distance between you and other people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Is you are quite literally saying, I like you, you're cool, but I'm not like you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like we do not live the same life. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And that is really how you separate yourself from other people. I feel like that's how you can progress really fast.
Definitely.
But
Well, dude, no,
Say something.
no, he's preaching to the choir, because I mean, people they just piss me off with that shit, dude. Think we're crazy and shit just because we're not like them. I'm like, dude, don't try and like make me feel bad because I'm not like you.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
you'll get
And-
a lot of that too.
Which
Yeah.
I don't fuck. This shit, it just goes one ear out the other. It never did bother me, but I just like how you simplify it. How like, literally, it's just you don't stop moving.
Yeah.
You know. And like when I was doing my race, people asked me, bro, how did you run that? And like they didn't like the answer, but I would just be like, dude, it was literally just one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
And like that's just the space I was in, because I
Oh,
always
yeah.
dumbed it down. I was like, I just have to keep moving.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna overthink it. Like if I don't drink water at exactly mile 19.7, I'm gonna fucking fall out by mile 23.
Yeah.
Like they just oversimplify. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking run until
Yeah.
I hit the finish line. I don't care how long it takes.
I love that mentality.
Just
dude.
playing the long.
Gump.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
That's sick.
Dude. I don't give a fuck, and I still don't give a fuck, dude. That
Yeah.
shit. Like like just sitting here, I'm like getting fired up listening.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. I'm just getting fucked. I'm ready to
Dude,
get after it,
exactly.
dude.
Exactly.
So there's this saying like life's all about happiness. Do you think life is all about happiness, or is there something else that's more about?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely don't think life's all about happiness.
Yeah.
I can use this analogy. Even in a relationship, this would be a good analogy. Is you maybe you start to date somebody, or you marry somebody, and you learn certain things about them, and you have an idea of what the relationship is supposed to be like. So it could be like life. You have an idea of what life is supposed to be like.
Mm-hmm.
And because you say life's all about happiness, this is going to be a good example of judging yourself on, metrics that just, don't really help you. Like if you judge yourself based on your quality of life, based on how many times you were happy, well, that's not really life. You know
It's
what I'm
not
saying?
realistic at all.
It's not. Well, it's not. Yeah, it's not realistic, and it doesn't even. You can't have the good without the bad. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was gonna say, for a relationship, for example, a really, really good way to look at this is like, because anyone who's in a relationship can relate to this. When you're with somebody, you can't really control that person. They might be in a mood one of these times. They might, and you still love them, right? And the whole goal is not to fight and argue and have a shitty relationship. The goal is to love each other and have an enjoyable experience and supplement each other's lives, right?
For sure.
But the first thing that goes awry and the first thing that, goes wrong, or you get into a fight, and I've been guilty of this, is like you question the whole relationship, or you question the whole process. And for life, for example, is like when you're basing your life, whether or not you're happy, or you're basing your relationship whether or not it's supposed to be lovey-dovey all the time, you're not judging yourself based off reality, and you're not even getting anything out of it, dude. Happiness and joy it's weird. It's this weird thing where even when we try to earn it, that's not even when we're the happiest. It's we're the happiest and we're the most joyous when we fucking decide to be.
Yeah.
And I use this example as a relationship because, you know, a big problem that I've always had in relationships is, you know, I would always judge. I had like a fucked up view of like what relationships are supposed to be like and like life in general, you know? And if you judge it based off your happiness, you know, you're never going to actually be happy because in reality, yeah, no one's happy all the time.
Yeah.
This is kind of off topic, but it kind of goes into the same quote you probably heard.
Okay.
If you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it'll live its whole life thinking it's stupid.
Yeah.
I think it's like the same way, almost like it's like you judge your life on whether you're happy all the time. You're gonna your life fucking sucks because you're
If
not
I was
gonna
happy
be.
all the time, bro, I would find a reason to cry.
Yeah. And that, I don't know. I just think the ebb and flow of life is actually it's actually a pretty beautiful thing, dude. Man, because if you don't go through stuff, you can't teach other people. You can't help other people. You know what I mean?
You wouldn't
Just
even know
can't.
what happiness is.
Yeah.
If you don't know what suffering,
You wouldn't
or
cherish
pain
it.
is.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
You can't have the highs without the lows. I
like
mean, the
having-
one analogy I actually heard recently, this guy, it was along the same thing about like happiness and blah blah, the highs and lows. He was like, you think about like the heart monitor or whatever, someone that's strapped in the hospital bed, how it's going up and down, up and down. He's like, but you just want to find that middle point. You don't want to be too happy, too sad. It's like, but if you're in the hospital bed and you're in the middle, it flatlines, you're dead.
Yeah.
It's like you need to, you know, you need the ups and downs. You need the highs and
Yeah.
lows to really experience life to like its truest form. If you just want to be in the middle all the time, then yeah, you're not gonna know happiness. You're not gonna know sadness either. You're just gonna be, yeah, life's all right, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Mhm.
I mean, I'll give it a good way to look at this. If you think about desire, unlike if you guys ever seen like the frequency chart before, desire is actually like a lower frequency way of vibration. So desire, when you desire comes from lack. So if you desire something, it means that you lack it. So if you're sitting there desiring happiness, it's basically saying that you're not happy. The highest form of frequency, I believe, is love, or I think it's acceptance or love.
Okay.
And acceptance being such a high frequency, think about that versus you're not desiring happiness, you're accepting the situation for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That is everything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
That, dude, that's hard, but that's really how you change your life, is in those moments of acceptance. You're not really desiring a better situation, is actually desiring a positive is actually a negative, because you're saying that what your situation you're in is negative.
Mm-hmm.
You're quite literally putting that out into the universe. Acceptance is
Yeah.
really where you should be at with your frequency. It's just accepting the moment for what it is. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is tough to do.
Power of the now.
Yeah, the power of the now, bro.
Fuck, dude,
Right
we're
now.
going there. Eh?
Yeah, man.
What this is something we asked almost everybody on our podcast. What is your purpose?
Honestly, bro. Honestly, I just think my purpose is just, yeah, you know, I don't want to sound like cliche and be like, because part of my purpose, I think, is to help people.
Yeah.
But I really think that, you know, part of my purpose too is to just, honestly, man, I just feel like it's just to use my body and mind as well as I can while I'm here.
Mm.
You know, and if you can constantly come back to that thought and that belief that you're meant for something and that you are a vessel, you know, it's not just settling, it's not just empowering. It's almost like you think if you're not doing it, you're doing yourself a disservice, you know?
Mhm.
That's all I have to say about that, bro. I don't want to even get,
That is cool.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it's, yeah, that's what I feel about that, bro.
For sure.
Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Best piece of advice I've ever received. Man, I don't really know. There's been so much that I've learned. I think really the best piece of advice I've ever received is I would say it's like a mix between probably something that my mom and my dad taught me when I was younger. And, you know, my dad taught me a lot about like he would. I truly believe that everything in my life has been a process. Like everything worth having has been a long process, and it's like never come overnight. And my dad taught me something. And I'm not saying like you couldn't learn this another way, but he said you have to understand that when things are good, that the bad is always coming, and when things are bad, the good's coming. And he just always taught me to be neutral, and it kind of ties into this next point that he taught me, and it was just like you can literally have anything you want if you're willing to work for it. And my mom would say on the other end of it, it was kind of like half of that. She would say like you can be anything you want. And I think that's probably the biggest piece of advice I was ever given is you can be whoever you want if you're willing to work for it, you know? And man, you know, sometimes I think about if I'm going through a painful situation, or if I think like, holy shit, like I'm really not where I want to be yet. I just think like, damn, like, of course, of course not. Like, it's just like, this is it. Like, I just laugh about it sometimes. I'm like, man, it's a process, bro. It's like, welcome to the, I say like a joke, like welcome to the Gabe show. It's just like, you know, everything's, I was like joking with my girlfriend. I was like, yep, everything just, with me, it's just long. It takes long. It's a process, you know?
For sure.
Nothing overnight, dude.
Now, how about those people out there that they want to become entrepreneurs, or maybe they want to start their own coaching business like you? What, like if they're just going to get started, you know, what's the first, you know, steps of approach for that?
Social media first.
Yeah.
Obviously.
So grow your brand on social media.
Yeah. Like you need to start, like no one knows who you are.
Right.
So this is what holds most people back. They won't do this. You know, people want to make money from their phones. They want to be successful, blah, 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 but they can't put the camera in front of their face and start talking. So if you can't do that, pick another career.
Yeah.
Because I think that if you want to do what I do, personal branding, you're going to have to talk to the camera. But I think that most people aren't willing to take what is considered a high volume approach, and that is an unreasonable amount of content at first. Because you have to think about other people. Like you have to increase your odds, right? Like if I'm making one video a day, and I have so much reach, and you have to be making like 10 to get the same amount of reach as me. So, and I'm not saying that should discourage you. I'm just saying like, the industry doesn't know who you are. The algorithm doesn't know who you are. No one knows who you are. No one gives a fuck. Really, no one gives a fuck who you are at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And really, I hate to say this, when the next morning comes, no one gives a fuck about who you are again. So you now have to display again, which is what I remember every morning, is that I'm fresh. I'm a fresh start. No one knows what I do. No one knows what I offer. Everyone needs my help. So I literally think that every day, and I'm just showing the people again, constantly fucking beating it into them.
Yeah.
You know? And at the end of the day, dude, if you're going to be a coach, do you actually believe that you can help people?
Right.
You have to believe that you can get people in shape. Like when someone gets on a group call with me, I'm thinking, dude, I'm going to bring it home right now. Like before I head on this group call on Sundays, I'm like, dude, I'm going to change these dudes' lives in this next hour, because I really believe that that's true.
Yeah.
You have to have, you know, I'd say two things if you want to be a coach, at least to a high level, you know, conviction that your service, you know, really believe in what you have. And it's an unreasonable work ethic, man. It's like crazy work ethic. One of really good book for that, the 10X rule.
Okay.
You guys ever read that?
I've heard of it. I haven't read it.
It's an excellent book. It will change. It is for sure the number one book, in my opinion, for mindset when it comes to productivity. Yeah.
Who's it by?
Grant Cardone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Highly suggest you look into that one, man.
Have you been into like any like seminars like Tony Robbins or
I
anything
haven't.
like that?
No.
None of that.
I haven't.
Do you stay away from that for a reason?
I don't stay away from it. To be honest, I'm still like kind of fairly new to this whole like personal branding space. I mean, I've been doing it Instagram and TikTok for probably like 2 years now, heavy.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like I've done Instagram for a long time trying to build it. But now that I'm getting into kind of like, you know, I worked with like my business coach and he has a mastermind and there's masterminds. I'm not against doing it. I think that a lot of people maybe jump the gun. They don't need to be spending thousands and thousands of dollars at a seminar. They just need to they just need to stop fucking being lazy.
What are some of the top ways you network outside of social media?
Yeah. I would say at the gym, I actually network
Yeah.
pretty well at the gym.
Okay. What gym do you go to?
I go to Powerhouse.
Oh, you go to Powerhouse
Yeah,
now?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Were
I
you
go-
always going there?
Well, I was working out at Max Fitness and Powerhouse. So Powerhouse is like my main gym, but mostly social media, man. I mean, that's pretty much the main place that I network. Yeah,
Gotcha.
I've met a lot of people through there.
For sure.
For sure.
So, like, the dream is to open up your own gym and have personal training and all that.
Not really. Like, I don't want to build. Like, I don't want to coach people in person or anything like that.
Okay.
Like me specifically.
Yeah.
Just because like my time, it just would be spent better somewhere else. I want to keep growing my coaching business. Keep bringing in clients like that. Grow the clothing business.
Right.
Like I have like just no room. Like it's just in my apartment. It's just like unreal. Like I have no room just because I have like boxes of clothes and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get set up for this next drop too. And I'm actually gonna be moving to Florida soon. So I'm getting like a bigger place. But
Oh, sick.
But yeah, I'm excited for that. But yeah, basically the big goal, man, is to just honestly just turn this whole thing into like a multi-million-dollar brand. Like that's just that is what's happening.
For sure.
You know, so.
Sweet.
That's
So
the goal.
where can we find that apparel?
Yeah, so these hoodies are dropping next month. So, which is tomorrow. Not dropping tomorrow, but in April, sometime in April.
Right.
There's just some things I have to get situated first. So, No Victim Apparel is the website. You can No Victim Apparel is the Instagram. If you click my Instagram, Gabe No Victim, you know there's a No Victim Apparel is right in my bio.
For sure.
So the way I'm gonna do this brand is I'm gonna drop a few pieces a month. Obviously there's a message behind it, and you can kind of see like I can show you the back too at a certain point, but fucking there's a certain style to this type of merch that's gonna be very like reminiscent of like kind of like the hardcore scene, like when I was in like hardcore music.
Okay.
Similar to that, but with my own spin on it. But honestly, it's still so early. It's that I have to really just focus on like building a team right now and growing it. So like I said in the beginning, maybe we can even talk about doing something in the future.
Yeah, bro. Definitely.
Just because I need help with that. Just because I need it's time at this point. I can't really leverage my time as well as I want to.
Definitely.
Like I can't be so many places at once.
It's the hardest part.
Yeah. So that's the goal, man. Just
Yes.
blow it up.
So people listening in the car, or maybe they're on a run or a walk right now, and they want to maybe take action, or they want to reach out to you and see, what you offer. How do they do that?
Yeah. So for coaching, you can just shoot me a DM on Instagram. I have a Calendly link in my, in my Instagram bio. You can set up a call, which is fine, but it's honestly easier just DM me on Instagram. We'll get you signed up that way. If you want to buy some merch, No Victim Apparel, .com and support me that way. Yeah. If you want to get in contact with me though, I would say DM on Instagram is the best way for
Perfect.
sure.
Is there
I'm really responsive too. So, I mean, I can't get to everyone, but I try my best.
For sure. Is there anything else that you want to shout out?
Yeah, so I want to shout out Vision Nutrition. So that's my supplement sponsor.
Okay.
Just Fit Justice is the owner, and he's a really cool dude. Fucking stuttering. He's a really cool guy, and I wanted to shout him out because I really appreciate his hospitality. He hooked me up with a supplement sponsor, and I just products that I really believe in. And yeah, I also want to shout out my girlfriend too, because and I want to say this too. I think it's really important to, especially as a young man, to not do what I did early on and try to do everything on your own. So she's been like forced to help me a lot because she's just like, Gabe, you can't do all this on your own. So she takes care of some stuff for me and has been a huge help. So I want to shout out my girlfriend Cassie, but also I just want to say like it's just super important to like what you guys are doing right now. Just lean on each other and have that
A tribe.
help each other. Yeah, it's so important, dude. So yeah, Vision Nutrition, and then just want to shout my girl out just for all her help and support and stuff like that. So I keep a tight knit circle.
For sure.
It's
so important.
Yeah, I keep a tight knit circle. So yeah, but yeah, for sure.
Sweet. Drew, you want to close this out?
Um,
I'm always putting him on the
if
spot.
Always.
yeah, dude, I fucking hate it. But yeah, man, if you made it this far, thanks for listening. I feel like this was probably one of our best pods yet.
Sweet.
A lot of really, really good, solid info here.
I didn't speak much only because
Same.
I agreed completely.
Like a fucking sponge, dude.
Like
Just
if
soaking it
if
in.
I actually disagreed, I'm definitely calling it. Like I'll call it out.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Appreciate you, bro.
I definitely resonated with a lot of things, like
Just
pretty much
said-
everything that you said, because
That's cool.
It's
we all think very similar.
I was gonna say I
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
being
that's-
like a young male in this, especially this time right now,
Yeah.
it's very rare that you'll hear these things where you're trying to be disciplined, you're trying to work hard and get to a certain goal. Like being around like all this like social media, it gets you money,
Yeah.
but it can also be the worst thing and
100%.
distract you from what you really need to do.
100%.
It's easy to be distracted. It's just a tool.
It's a lot better to be a creator than a
point.
consumer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a good point.
I mean, it can take it. If you want to succeed, I'm sure you can hook up with certain people on social media, and at the same time, it can fucking be your downfall because you're literally
Absolutely.
addicted and just mindless,
Yeah.
and then you get nothing done.
All has to do with intent too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But no, I mean this was a great conversation. Definitely one of the best ones we've had yet, man. And I think we all align with the whole no victim thing as well, especially with today's society. Shit pisses me off. I'm not gonna get too much into it, but too many victims out there.
I say it all the
100%.
time. If someone has like a victim's mentality, I'll tell them like
Straight up.
you're acting like a victim, and
Yeah.
acting like a victim, it's not going to get you any peace, and it's not going to actually do anything for you in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are just going to be stuck. You're going to be sitting in the same spot,
Yep.
It's a
That's it,
power.
dude.
It's
blaming everything
stagnant.
else except for yourself.
Mhm.
Actually having accountability, making steps so you can actually get to that certain point. So
Yeah.
dude, definitely appreciate you coming on the pod, and
yeah.
definitely had a lot in common for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Definitely gonna have to come
I
back.
knew it would. I knew I would resonate with you guys for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm sure you'll be back. I'm sure this won't be the last to hear from him. So
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in.
Sweet. Shutting
And
off.
we are out.